Imagine waking up to see that a nearly invisible American medical device company with about 20 employees, almost no revenue, and a market capitalization small enough to slip past most screens has begun moving through the United States medical technology ecosystem with a velocity that even billion-dollar robotics companies struggle to achieve. Imagine clinical data so flawless, it pushes the boundary of statistical plausibility. Imagine United States regulators clearing a first-generation robotic system with a smoothness that contradicts how the agency normally handles anything involving complex hardware, remote actuation, or vascular navigation. Imagine a top-tier academic medical center in the United States becoming the very first real-world adopter, even though that is absolutely not how new robotic systems are usually introduced. And imagine all of this happening in a compressed timeline so unusual that experienced investors have no choice but to question whether they are witnessing exceptional engineering, exceptional timing, or an early signal of something larger that the market has not yet priced. That company is Microbot Medical, and every step in its timeline deepens the puzzle. And the company's system, called the Liberty Endovascular Robotics System, is a fully disposable, single-use robotic platform that allows physicians to guide catheters remotely inside a patient's blood vessels. In standard practice, an interventional radiologist stands near a radiation source while manually manipulating guide wires. That setup has not changed meaningfully in decades. Liberty attempts to flip the entire workflow by relocating the physician away from the radiation source altogether. But the more unusual part is this. Introducing a brand new robotic system into vascular intervention normally requires years of incremental testing, bench studies, human factors work, redesign, more feasibility trials, and long regulatory correspondence. Friction is the norm. Delays are the baseline. Liberty did not move through that pattern. On 4/9/2025, Microbot revealed pivotal trial results that seemed almost engineered for perfection. Navigation's success was reported at 100%. Physician radiation exposure dropped by roughly 92%. Device-related complications were reported at 0. Navigation times were only a few minutes. These results contradict what typically happens. In standard early device trials, performance varies from case to case. Operators face learning curves, anatomy introduces unpredictability, and minor complications appear even when a system performs well. The absence of any statistical noise is precisely what makes this result mysterious. It forces investors to consider whether the cases were unusually ideal, whether the operators were unusually elite, or whether Liberty is genuinely operating with precision far beyond normal early-stage robotics. Then comes the regulatory sequence. Microbot submitted its 510(k) filing on 12/10/2024. For novel robotics, the usual path includes multiple rounds of regulator questions, requests for additional testing, questions about safety logic and software behavior, and months of revision before clearance. A year is already considered fast for a complex robotic platform. Yet Liberty received clearance on 9/8/2025 without any publicly visible delays. This is not the usual pattern. The absence of friction suggests either extraordinary preparation or exceptionally strong alignment between Microbot and the agency before submission. The deviation from typical review behavior adds another layer to the growing mystery. The company's commercial behavior creates a third anomaly. Before generating revenue and before confirming any hospital buyer, Microbot had already hired senior commercial leadership and secured a logistics partner in the United States capable of supporting nationwide deployment. Small medical device companies do not usually build commercial infrastructure ahead of revenue because the capital burn is too high. They normally wait for clearance and early customer feedback before scaling. Microbot built first and waited later, which implies a degree of internal certainty that normal companies do not have unless they have convincing internal signals that adoption is near. The financing trail adds even more weight. Across February and mid-September in 2025, Microbot executed a preferred investment option structure, enabling the company to raise about $92 million in gross proceeds. For a company valued near $167 million, this is unusually large. Typical early-stage companies raise funds only after clear milestones are achieved. Microbot raised funds as if anticipating a rapid commercial scale-up before any revenue. This suggests that internal or strategic stakeholders saw something coming that justified securing capital well ahead of time. Then on 11/26/2025, Emory University Hospital became the first hospital in the world to adopt Liberty. This is not how early adoption works. Usually smaller regional hospitals act as first adopters because they can move faster and face less committee review. Large academic hospitals like Emory normally take longer, often requiring lengthy evaluation cycles that can stretch many months. For Emory to adopt first is a complete reversal of the usual pattern, which implies that the technology passed an unusually rigorous internal evaluation, or that the value proposition was compelling enough to override the usual conservatism of a top-tier hospital. This single event carries disproportionate importance because it signals high-level validation from a premier United States healthcare institution. Yet, despite all of these extraordinary developments, Microbot still reports essentially zero revenue for the trailing 12 months. Under normal commercial conditions, revenue begins soon after adoption because hospitals begin training and using disposable components. But the revenue curve has not yet appeared. This mismatch between operational momentum and financial silence is the core of the mystery. Something is advancing beneath the surface, but the financials have not yet caught up. Investors are left suspended in a space between conviction and hesitation. This contradiction is reflected directly in the stock chart. As of late November 2025, the stock trades around $2.5, holding support near $2.3, which aligns with long-term trend levels, while repeatedly failing to break resistance near $2.6, which aligns with short-term momentum levels. This setup is typical of a market waiting for a decisive catalyst. Microbot now stands at a turning point. If the limited market release from late 2025 expands into broader adoption during 2026, valuation could shift quickly. Resistance levels near $3.5 to $4 could break, and longer-term expectations, including a $12 projection, could become grounded in actual commercial data. If additional adoptions do not appear soon, the stock may remain in the $2 range while investors wait for revenue evidence. At this point, we would love to hear from listeners. If there are publicly listed, privately traded, or soon-to-list stocks or digital asset projects that you want this channel to investigate, leave them in the comments. We pay extremely close attention to the ideas that come from this community, and your submissions guide much of what we analyze next. And to those who watch, subscribe, like, comment, and share these episodes across your networks, thank you for your support. We will continue to deliver deeper and sharper content because your engagement makes it possible. Microbot Medical sits between remarkable execution and missing financial confirmation. And that unresolved tension is what gives this story its unusual gravity. This was Value Stir.